Welcome back to another week of SoCal Business and Basketball Report. We're here tonight in Canton, Ohio at the Canton Memorial Fieldhouse. Great atmosphere for basketball, 4,800 seats, and we had Canton McKinley playing Jackson, two storied programs here in Ohio. Jackson has had a lot of success in recent years. Kyle Young, a 6'8 player who's at Ohio State as a sophomore, had a great career at Jackson, and this year, Canton McKinley has a new coach, Andy Vlajkovic, who was at Boardman and at Rootstown before that. Canton is 60 miles southeast of Cleveland and about 30 miles south of Akron. Canton McKinley has quite a history through the years. When I was a kid, Troy Taylor and Ronnie Stokes, the backcourt for Ohio State, was also the backcourt at Canton McKinley here. In the 60s, they had Nick Weatherspoon, who played at Canton McKinley at Illinois and 7 years in the NBA. So the history is deep. Canton McKinley has won more high school basketball games than any other program in Ohio through the years. Gary Grant's another graduate of Canton McKinley. He got over 10 years in the NBA. Phil Hubbard is a graduate here of Canton McKinley, and he played 10 years in the NBA, a lot of that with the Cleveland Cavaliers. When I went through, Bryant Bowden, Michael Hawkins, and Eric Snow played here at Canton McKinley. Bryant actually was the head coach here a few years ago at Canton McKinley. He played at DePaul. Michael played at Xavier and in the NBA. And Eric Snow, of course, played at Michigan State, and then in the NBA with the 76ers and the Cavaliers. And all three of those guys did not get an offer from Ohio State, so that Michigan State's kind of tapped in through time here and done well in Ohio and Northeast Ohio. But they usually have a lot of kids here that might get overlooked, and if they stick with it, possibly go the junior college route, very good things can happen for them. Raymar Morgan, he played here at Canton McKinley, won 2 state titles in 05 and 06, and he also started on 2 Final Four teams at Michigan State. So he's one of the better players they've had. McKinley has won 3 state titles, but they've been runner-up 8 times, so they're always right there. The last guy I want to mention, Keith McLeod, also played at Canton McKinley, and he played at Bowling Green, and then he played about 3 years in the NBA. Jackson's actually won a couple of state titles in the last 10 years, so they've had a little recent push, and their high school is in the Massillon area nearby. When I played here, it was a great atmosphere. Today it's the upgraded plastic seats and bleachers, but back in the day they had the wood bleachers, and their fans were very intelligent. They had wood blocks, and they would just start banging on the bleachers when the team went on defense, and it was very intimidating. It even got to the point one time where I forgot the offense the first time I played here, and but through time they continue the history. They've done very well. Moving forward, we want to talk a little bit about the business atmosphere. And Southern California's actually played a role here in the business atmosphere. Timken's the biggest company, the largest ball bearing company in the world. And several years ago, the CalSTRS, the California State Teachers Retirement System, were very large shareholders in the stock, and they pressured the company. They wanted to unlock, it's very well documented, wanted to unlock shareholder value and push to have the company separated into a steel company and a bearing company. And that did happen, and those companies are separate today. Other companies here, Diebold, we talked about last week with the ATMs, with the grocery store machines that you check out in. They even do voting machines. Nichols Bakery is nearby in Navarre, and they deliver bakery goods throughout Northeast Ohio. The Belden Brick Company is a very large company, headquartered here in Canton, and they manufacture bricks south of here in Amish country and Sugar Creek. Their family, the Belden family, is in the Case Western Reserve Weatherhead School of Management Hall of Fame. Before we talk about the game, I just wanted to mention the situation at UCLA where they're changing coaches, and Coach Alford, as I would see him through the years, very personable, nice guy. You'd see him in the community at high school games, and just like the class that he carried himself with, he'll be fine moving forward. And as UCLA looks for a new coach, there's going to be the big names that are talked about: Billy Donovan, John Calipari. Who knows if that would be possible? But some of the other names, Tony Bennett, who's done very well at Virginia. I think they're going to do very well this year. Could be a Final Four team. And they lost last year in the first round, but he has experience in the Pac-12 at Washington State. Kevin Willard at Seton Hall is another name that I think could be a possibility, as he's been rock solid at Seton Hall. Bruce Pearl, and some of these names, it's well documented about some of the violations that may have occurred under some of these coaches, and you just don't know. Maybe some coaches have turned a page, and they're going to correct that situation moving forward. So as UCLA demands a quick turnaround and they want to see winning now, there's going to be an option of an ethical or an unethical approach, and it's hard to say. But Bruce Pearl, certainly his teams play hard, and they're going to do well again this year at Auburn. Eric Musselman, a year ago, I mentioned some of the off-the-court things with him. His teams are certainly going to win, and he's going to push until that happens. Kelvin Sampson, again, some of the off-the-court things are well documented with Kelvin Sampson, but I think the character I see there, he's undefeated at Houston, and always in the first year of his programs at Indiana, at Oklahoma, he wins in the first year. And he's not coming in and throwing the old guys under the bus, telling them he owns them, and it's going to be the worst year of your life, and a lot of the things you hear from some of the coaches that have the egos that want to clear house and maybe show improvement each year. He's certainly going to come in and maximize the material he has. Incidentally, Brown Brady, who's an Akron Ellett graduate from the area here in Northeast Ohio, is one of the leading rebounders at Houston this year. And he played at a junior college before Houston. And I think Houston actually has a chance to maybe push for the Final 8 or Final 4 this year. Some other names, Grant McCaslin at North Texas. Amazing what he did last year. Doing well again this year. And I think a lot of coaches that win a Division II or a junior college championship, inevitably you're going to see the same thing repeated at the Division I level. But he's an up-and-coming coach. Keith Dambrod, a rugged, tough defensive coach. He's been through the wars, and he's doing well at Duquesne. His teams are playing defense now. Coached at Akron for years, and if he got a shot at something like UCLA, I think he would do well. Nate Oates is at Buffalo. He didn't build the program there, but he certainly maintained and possibly took it to a new level there at Buffalo. So he's an up-and-coming coach. And finally, Kyle Smith at San Francisco knows the West Coast well, has started well at USF, and he's a veteran coach that may get a shot at a higher level at some point. Tonight's game, Canton McKinley, they lost 50-52 to Jackson. Both teams were evenly matched. I don't think either team is going to challenge St. Vincent St. Mary this year. Brent Walker is a 6'6" sophomore for McKinley, had 14 points. Probably his upside is mid-major, but he could be a player to watch in the future. And a lot of the McKinley guys probably not going to be recruited heavily. but if they'd stick with it, possibly go the junior college route, could surface, because they have a lot of tough kids. That's it right now for SoCal Business and Basketball Report tonight. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be at another game next week at an area of interest in a neighborhood to bring you more business and basketball information. Have a good night.